Next on Rugby Wrap-Up's MLR Weekly, L.A. cult hero in the making, Declan Leaney, Boston Banshee star, Emily Henrich, John Fitzpatrick of Rugby Morning, Bryan Ray of America's Rugby News, and the best recap in rugby. Rugby Wrap-Up's MLR Weekly brought to you by Sheehy Auto Stores. It's easy at Sheehy. The Pig and Whistle, New York City, the world's best rugby pub. And Lean and Limber, stretching your way to a healthier lifestyle.
There is a massive responsibility on the 23 that are privileged enough to step out on that field today.
Let's get it started with rugby's best recap. Mr. Smith goes to Washington. That's J.P. Smith and the Seattle Seawolves looking to exact some positive change in the nation's capital and their season against Old Glory. And it started off well enough with Seattle taking advantage of a Rob Harley yellow card to score the game's first try. But D.C. once again showed that they can play with the big boys as second-generation American players John Rizzo and Owen Sheehy scored crowd-rocking tries while another young American, Connor Buckley, got player of the match honors. Final score 29-12. Oh, geez. In Charlotte, North Carolina, two struggling franchises faced off. Postseason favorites, the NOLA Gold, were looking to stay relevant, and the Anthem were looking for their first ever win. The team from the Big Easy proved too much for the up-and-down Anthem, and NOLA does indeed stay relevant with a must-have win, 33-19. Down in Texas, it wasn't hot and dry. It was cold, wet, and windy, and the SaberCats lost fly half David Kotza in the 10th minute. It took 16 minutes for the first points to be scored via a superb Keaton to Betrano try, but both teams missed opportunities in a seesaw battle that saw Houston nearly tie it at death, but for a missed wind-blown conversion that sent L.A. to a 4-game win streak. Final score, RFCLA 24, Cats 22. Stay classy, San Diego. The Legion and Chicago Hounds brace for what many believe to be the championship preview. And they may be right, as these talented teams went tooth and nail in a marvelous match, replete with exciting plays and blood and guts defense. Indeed, the result wasn't secure until the tension-filled final possession. However, the Hounds held on for dear life as the cohorts were stalled at the gate and try line. Final score 27-20 Chicago. The lone Sunday match featured the New England Free Jacks and Miami Sharks in Quincy, Massachusetts, and it took just a minute and change for Paulo Balicana to bounce off would-be tacklers with a wicked smart try on his way to a hat trick. In between, fans got to see the keg that can kick in Falatoy Penny and the back row firm of Conradi, Johnstone, Gomez, Vara, and Melvin find their collective games, turning a 7-6 match into a rout. Watch out, the champs are starting to click. Final score, New England 46, Miami 6. Wow, I am beat. I know that you're beat. We could use a break, so let's take a coffee break. Rugby Morning's coffee break with John Fitzpatrick calling in from Washington, D.C. What news in the MLR that you want to share?
Hey, you were at the Old Glory DC game. Let's start there, Matt. What was your take on Old Glory DC? A pretty complete game against the Seattle Seawolves, although a couple injury concerns. Jason Robertson came off in the second half. Maybe he rolled up his ankle. Injuries starting to mount up for Old Glory. Jamison Fondon-Schultz been out for a couple weeks. Fullback Damian Hoyland's out for a few more weeks. Are you concerned?
Well, the bad news is that these players are dinged up. The good news is that it's not going to be too long-term. We don't know anything about Jason Robertson at this point other than that it was a non-contact instep area injury. I asked him after the match what happened, and he said, I was just running, and I felt something in my instep, and he was on crutches. That's not a good sign. So at this taping, we don't know what the extent of the injury is. As for the others, Hoyland and Fondon-Schultz have hamstring injuries. Fondon-Schultz is kind of week to week now. Hoyland might be a little bit longer, maybe 4 to 6 weeks. That was still, again, this is on Saturday. And Humphreys has a bit of a calf thing going on, but he and Fontanana Schultz are expected back sooner than later, and then Hoyland a little bit longer on that front. But, the team has showed depth. Seattle had a great roster there. They brought their big guns, and even with the substitutions and missing players, DC had a clinical win. Yes.
You're droning on for too long. Let's go to the next team. Come on, man. Come on.
I forgot who are you producing the show? Don't ask me questions if you don't want me to answer. Next.
Hey, Matt, the Chicago Hounds knocked off the San Diego Legion. Are the Chicago Hounds the best team in Major League Rugby right now?
They could very well be. Yes, they could very well be.
That's such a non-answer. Yes or no? Come on.
That's a maybe. That's a big maybe. I'm on the fence about that right now. I like them. I think they're definitely the best in the East. But I also see that back row for New England is starting to get healthy and together again. And I know that they were playing against Miami, but watch that because that is a big game changer for the reigning champions. Chicago, very good team. The Wild West now, who knows? It's now suddenly we thought San Diego was going to run away with the division, and now not so fast. Not so fast. And look at L.A. Everybody made fun of me about L.A. I said L.A. was good from the get-go, and look, 4-game winning streak in your face.
Yeah, I want to pause right there because it was a great game, although I think the difference was Davy Koitzer, dynamic fly-half fullback, came off early in the 10th minute or so. I think that changed the complexion of the game. And kudos to RFC LA. They've been playing great. It's fun to watch them play. Reese McDonald running around like a madman. Houston is a different team when Davy Koitzer's not on the field. Hopefully his injury is not long-term, but we'll see.
Yeah, but this game, you get injured sometimes, and you have to play with other players. And LA has been playing, they've had injuries. They look at Reese McDonald, for instance, just now coming back, second time, making an imprint. He's impressive off the bench, but wait till he starts starting, and that whole dynamic changes, right? So LA, you laughed at me. In your face, they're a good team. Next.
No, I was just saying the logo looks like your head. But guess who is coming back, Matt? Here's a name that hasn't been in MLR in a couple of weeks because he took a little sabbatical over to the USA Men's Sevens program. But of course, Lance Williams returning to the Utah Warriors. Big Lance Williams fan, Matt. You throwing him right into the flanker position there? Is he getting started minutes as soon as he comes back?
I haven't seen him. I don't know what kind of shape he's in. I'm sure he's in exceptional shape because he's that kind of guy. And he is an exceptional player. I like him to be part of the USA 15s camp. And he's a dynamic flanker. So Utah gets another good player into that already good mix. Final thoughts.
Yeah, Matt, one thing here. Let me flip that around. I'm going to give you a red card here. I've been coming on to this program for the last few years, and I've been enjoying it. Man, I've been telling others about this to come watch the show. But, Matt, I don't know, man. A couple of these bits are just starting to feel tired, man. I don't know if I'm coming back.
Are you the guy that's writing those comments on YouTube?
What?
Oh, I get it. All right. Yeah, well, sometimes not every show is up to everybody's par, so to speak. But we try. We'll do our best. We'll do our best. On that note, John Fitzpatrick of Rugby Morning, thank you, sir. Bless your red card. We'll be right back after this.
Digs like a demented mole there.
Need a great price on a new vehicle? Sheehy makes it easy. Easy Price shows you our lowest prices on the Mid-Atlantic's largest selection. Find your best price online or at any of our 31 dealerships.
It's easy at Sheehy. Sheehy.com.
If you're in New York City and want to watch some great rugby, have some great food, and some great times, go to the world's best rugby pub, the Pig and Whistle on West 36th Street.
How you doing? I'm Jim Hamilton. I'm at the Pig and Whistle. I'm at the famous Pig and Whistle. Look, I've come, I've got my rucksack on. I'm a well-known man around the world as one of the best rugby players to have ever played the game. No, I'm not. It's a lie. But we've got Paul O'Connell's montage on the wall. I've heard a lot about this place, and I'm here. Make sure, though, that you come here, but you also tune in to Rugby Wrap-Up.
We're back with Mr. Declan Laney of the L.A., not yet a nickname team, but welcome, sir, to the program.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Now, Declan, Some people might think that I'm having you on this program just to break your chops about the 2 games that you got 2 yellow cards in the second half, and each one of those games, those 2 yellow cards turned into red cards, while others think it's high time I had you on because you're coming off a 21 tackle performance against what's considered the best team, or if not one of the best teams in the league, and facilitating a 4-game winning streak in Houston's own backyard. But really, I just want to know what the hell syndesmosis is.
Syndesmosis?
Didn't you have syndesmosis or something?
In the grand final, back in Australia, got kind of like that in the first couple of minutes that I come on from another forward that I replaced. He had the same injury in the first 3 minutes of the game, so it was
how freaky is that, A, and B, you stayed in and played?
Yeah, it was I had to get through it. There was not many other people that could have replaced me, to be honest. It was kind of just one of those things I had to push through. So
it's a foot injury of sorts?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Now, that's not good when you're playing the front row and you got one wheel.
No, it wasn't the greatest, but we got through and got the job done, so that's all that mattered.
But all kidding aside, I saw that. I'm like, this is a tough guy I don't want to mess with.
No, pretty friendly.
Like, well, you haven't gotten through the whole interview yet, so we'll see, okay? But in all seriousness, you come from north of Sydney, south of Brisbane, right? Yep. Coffs Harbour?
That's the one.
What's the rugby like there?
Yeah, it's growing. It's definitely getting a lot bigger. They actually just had Australian Barbarians versus Japan under 23s there in Coffs, which is pretty big for the community there. It's they had all the younger grades play through all up to first grade, and it was good. I think it was a pretty successful outcome down there. It was good to see.
So what was your path to rugby? Because rugby league's big over there.
Yeah, so I started off playing rugby league up until I was probably about 15, 16. And unfortunately, the rugby league competition in the juniors died off in Coffs and around the mid-north coast down there. So I had one of my mates' dads come up to me and said to come over to play rugby union, and funnily enough, started off in the backs, and Well,
I'm not surprised by that. Watching you carry the ball against Houston, I'm not surprised because you had you ripped off some good runs right up the gut.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a tough game. It was good to get a couple of early carries in, that's for sure.
So I want to go back to the earlier struggles, the team struggles, and you coming in. I mean, you came in, there was an iffy call on one of the yellow cards. We did catch you throwing a punch, or two, but God forbid, it ain't tennis. But were you feeling pressure coming off the bench, like you had to do a lot?
Yeah, in a sense, you always want to come on when there's limited minutes and try and make an impact. But yeah, I guess in the moment, a couple of heated things got in the way of that, and a couple of calls. That
God forbid.
Would have rather not go the way they did, but that's rugby, unfortunately.
So, but you put it all together against Houston. I mean, was that your first? Are you feeling more relaxed?
Yeah, obviously it was my first start as a professional player, and even this year, so it was pretty exciting and a bit nervous at the same time. I just want to get my hands on the ball early and try and get stuck in a bit early and let the game go on from there.
All right. In the meantime, we're going to get that cult started. Laney Zanies, perhaps something.
Yeah, that's the one.
We'll get it going. We'll get it all going. I got the construction vibe going. Hammers, saws. Right.
Yep. We get everyone on the tools working hard.
Exactly. On the tools. That's the shirt with your face. On the tools.
On the tools.
All right. Well, thank you for taking the time. It was a pleasure getting to know you.
No worries, mate. Thank you. Cheers.
We'll be right back after this. And now for the Major League Rugby Play of the Week, brought to you by the Rugby Network. In the 16th minute of a scoreless match in Houston, L.A. shocked the excited crowd with a skill-soaked score that started with flanker Matt Heaton playing scrum half. Heaton passed to fellow Canadian Andrew Coe, whose sublime skittering kick started a 50-meter chase that was won going away by number 9, Gonzalo Bertrano, with a climatic pounce on the ball in the try zone. And that is your Major League Rugby Plays of the Week, brought to you by the Rugby Network.
I wouldn't like to be at the bottom of that.
You need your cleats? You need them tomorrow? If you order today by 3 p.m. New York time or noon LA time, they can have them to you tomorrow. Young, old, male, female, if you're playing on turf, if you're playing on grass, if you're playing in the rain, you're playing in the heat, they've got you covered. RugbyNow.com. Go there now. Here's your TRO, the Rugby Odds MLR picks of the week via WWE Hall of Famer turned rugby advocate John Bradshaw Layfield, legendary USA Olympic Sevens coach Mike Friday, and King Gipte Belu, inventor of words.
San Diego getting 5 points, it's way too many. I'm not sure that San Diego shouldn't be favored, so give me San Diego.
NOLA has a chance to be able to continue it. Look for them to beat DC at home in the gold mine and be able to cover that -4.5 given to DC.
New England are firing. They're physical. They're at home. They're going in the right direction. So the Free Jacks to win and cover that 5.
And hey, be sure to check out the Rugby Odds, the critically acclaimed sports entertainment show featuring big-name talent, exclusive highlights, insightful opinions, and irreverent, if not downright naughty, behavior. And we're back with Emily Henrich. Well, welcome to MLR Weekly's W.E.R. segment, Emily.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you jumping through some hoops because you are in a coffee shop next to the school that you are substitute teaching for.
Yeah. So, of course, it being women's rugby and it being a new league, a lot of us have had to take on jobs on the side. And so mine has been substitute teaching at an elementary school.
That is cool. How old are the kids?
Today I'm with 2nd grade. So I've mostly been with preschool to 3rd grade.
Oh, wow. And when you go in there with black eyes, because I know in the New York match, in the first ever match in W.E.R., you got a good shiner from a knee, right?
Yeah, so I was over the breakdown with my teammate Tess Fury, and she was just doing some good groundwork. So I took a knee to the eye and got quite the shiner, and the kids thought it was pretty funny, and it gave me an opportunity to talk a little bit about rugby and that it's like football without pads. And so sometimes you just take a knee to the face, and some of the kids decided the sport should be banned or illegal. Sounds too violent to them, but...
Well, that's how society is, right? It's not everybody's cup of tea, but I just wanted to talk about your pathway and you a little bit so folks can get to know you a little bit. You started playing at 6. You went to Orchard Park High School, and your mom and dad went to Dartmouth and played, and you went to Dartmouth and played.
Yep. That's
right?
Correct. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing stuff. So when you were playing at 6, where were you playing? Who were you playing with?
I was really lucky growing up in Buffalo that we were only 20 minutes from the Canadian border. So there were some good flag opportunities just across the border. So while my parents were still playing for the Niagara Wasps, they used the flag rugby program serve as a babysitting service. So they got me into it while they were playing.
Fabulous idea. Yeah, that's killing 2 birds with 1 stone, right? You get to play your rugby and have your kid babysat for, but she's actually playing rugby too.
Yeah, and then your kid falls in love with the sport. So it really was like multi-purpose.
Well, once we take over Canada, we can just implement all their ideas for us, right? I mean, you're right on the border, so you'll go in and just take over, right?
Oh, man, I can't say I'm near the border anymore. Canada Rugby's doing something right.
All right. So then it was the Eagles. What's number 269?
269. That's correct.
That's your Eagle number.
Mm-hmm.
Good on you for knowing that. Good on, because, some people get a little bit complacent about that. And people like me who are so jealous that our heads are ready to pop off our shoulders, but good on you. But you mentioned Leicester Tigers. So that's pretty cool, playing professionally overseas.
Yeah, it was a big dream of mine for a long time to play professionally. And obviously there weren't the opportunities in the States at the moment when I was graduating from college. And so going overseas and playing professionally was really achieving something I had wanted to do for a long time.
That's awesome. And now you're on American soil. Boston Banshees, who are off to a flying start, 3-0, right? And let me get this straight. Last week, you beat the Chicago Tempest 65-12 in Chi-Town, an away road win like that. That one ruck changed the whole game. Beat the Twin City Gemini in Beantown, 36-10, that's at home. And you stunned the New York Exiles and everybody in attendance, including yours truly, with that penalty try at death in the first ever W.E.R. match. So you're off to a flying start here with the Banshees.
Yeah, no, it's been really fun. I think it took us a week or two to really get our flow and figure out how we wanted to play and really connect. But I think now that we have, we're really just flying.
That is so cool. And it's something in the back of my head tells me that, were you on the pitch at the same time with your mom?
I was back at New Year's 7th. I think it was in 2014. We both played for an open side. I think it was Old Glory or Old Blue, maybe. But
Old
we
Blue?
also, yeah, we were with Caramelli as well. So it was a pretty stacked team.
Wow. That is so cool. That is so cool. All right. When you were growing up, other than your parents, because that would be the correct answer in this question, who did you have a favorite player? Because, you know, now you're the professional players for kids that like you teach to be that star, that personality, that somebody that they want to wear the jersey. Was there a player like that for you?
I guess, yeah, excluding my parents. Dan Carter was the first celebrity rugby player I think I was really aware of. Just because watching the World Cup and watching him play, he just has such a incredible vision for the field, and he just was so exciting to watch. But I think my first women's player that I was really aware of was Emily Scarrett. And so now it's pretty funny and very full circle to play against her when we take on the Red Roses, and especially when we're both wearing the 13 jersey. It's pretty fun for me.
And you share the same first name.
Yeah, no, it's the Emily 13.
All goes together. Well, Emily, I really appreciate you taking the time out. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and I look forward to talking to you again in the future.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Matt. I really appreciate it. Keep tabs on the rest of the Banshee season. I'm really excited.
Well, I'm a New York person, so it's tough for me to, but I have an affinity for you guys because, especially your family, because we share that Buffalo connection. So I'll be rooting for you, but I'll be rooting for you, but I won't be doing it in the pubs in New York. Okay.
Okay. Fair enough. I'll take it.
All right. Emily Henrich, thank you very much. But I wanted to show you the interview that we had right after that big win, that first ever game with winning head coach Kittery Wagner-Ruiz. Here's that interview.
Coach, congratulations. First ever win in W.E.R. How's it feel?
It feels amazing. They put it all together in that second half and really never gave up from minute 1 to minute 80. So we're going to go home and work on some of the things we needed to work on from this match, and hopefully we put it all back together.
And you are now the answer to future trivia questions. Who was the first ever winning coach in W.E.R. history?
That's true. That's true. First match on the road. Very exciting.
All right. Well, congratulations. Go enjoy.
We're back again with Mr. Bryan Ray of America's Rugby News / Ray's Rugby. Bryan, welcome. I see that you're in, Torero Stadium in San Diego?
Yes, indeed. The site of a very compelling match. I would say the best match of the weekend between the two conference leaders. Well played for both teams. Just a fun game to watch.
And yet you're wearing New England Free Jacks attire once again.
How could I not after that storming performance at Fort Quincy against the poor Sharks?
Well, we talked about it in this first segment with John Fitzpatrick of Rugby Morning about, that back row coming together for New England, huh?
Well, I mean, they're got a bit of embarrassment of riches, don't they? I mean, they started, Melvin Johnston and Conradi, and they had Geronimo Gomez-Var at lock. It's certainly not his
because he's the tallest. That's what Melvin told me. He goes, it's the one time I'm really happy that I'm not taller.
Exactly.
So I don't have to play lock.
Like, I don't know if I'm particularly in favor of that going on, too much longer this season, but, they're pretty stacked in the back row.
Yeah, that, maybe even put one of them at center. Put Melvin, he played 10s with Mike Friday, so put him at center. What the heck? See what happens. He could be like the next Nick Grigg, right? Who knows? All right, so anyway, let's go over some picks, and you can make your prognostications. Easy for me to say. All right, Brian, again, these picks are from the Rugby Odds, and you can see my picks on this week's The Rugby Odds. New England at home, -5 versus San Diego.
I'm going to go with the Free Jacks in that one at home. I think they're starting to feel it again, so we'll go with them against San Diego. I think this is going to be a great game.
All right, next one up, NOLA at home after getting a much-needed win against Carolina. This time they're hosting D.C., and D.C. are the road favorites by 4 points.
I wasn't super impressed with NOLA against Anthem. I think, the Anthem guys kind of shot themselves in the foot and played really poor defense at times, kind of threw that game away. But DC without Hoyland, without Robertson, without Humphreys, without, JFS, this is a tough one. I think I'm going to lead towards NOLA by 3 in this one.
The next one up, Miami hosting Houston. Houston, another road favorite, 9 points.
Houston's going to be bitterly disappointed with that loss to LA. They had plenty of opportunities to win that game, and they just didn't take advantage of it. Yeah, I'll still take Houston in this one, but, I'm going to have to see a lot more from them on the road than they showed at home.
LA at home versus Utah, and LA on their 4-game winning streak, now favorites by 2 points.
I'm leaning towards LA, and this one I think it'll be close, and this is another really fascinating contest. So I'll go LA by 5.
Okay, and then finally, Chicago playing very well, -13 versus Carolina, and that could be a much bigger point spread.
There were some Eagles making bad mistakes in that game against NOLA. That just can't be accepted in that camp. So they'll be fired up, I think, for this one, but Chicago's just too good. So, yeah, Chicago by a couple scores in this one.
Interesting. Final thoughts, Brian?
Just a shout out to the match officials. After last week, the heavy criticism regarding the TMO use, it seems like the message got through. This past weekend was much, much, much better. I would have to say I was satisfied with the officials this past weekend. So kudos to you guys. Well done to turn down the noise.
This is a moment in MLR history, ladies and gentlemen, to be embraced. Pigs are flying, snowballs in Hades, and Brian Ray is saluting referees. What's next? Steve Lewis saluting referees?
Let's not get ahead of ourselves here, man.
Yeah, all right, okay. Well, on that note, Brian, we're out of time. Thank you to Mr. Brian Ray of America's Rugby News /Ray's Rugby, John Fitzpatrick of Rugby Morning, Declan Laney of Rugby Football Club Los Angeles, Emily Henrich of the Boston Banshees, and thank you for tuning in. If you get a chance, check out our other shows, including the critically acclaimed The Rugby Odds. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Tell your friends about us. That would be great. Join our weekly newsletter, and please sign up for our American Red Cross Blood Donor Team.